However, now we move over to Europe, where Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky met Finland's President Stubb in Kyiv for substantive talks on security and Russian sanctions. Zelensky suggested that Russia may have targeted Poland to block new air defences and called for long-range weapons from the US if Moscow rejects a ceasefire. He urged Kyiv's allies to rethink their air defence capabilities after Russian drones entered Polish airspace, saying Ukraine is open and ready to support their efforts. Let's take a listen in.
На жаль, навіть після вчорашніх подій, вчорашніх ударів дронів, по Польщі, після багатьох гібридних атак Росії проти європейських країн та після багатьох масованих атак проти України немає дійсно сильних таких відчутних кроків у відповідь Росії, які примусили би Росію до миру.
Stubb agreed that Europe must reduce dependence on Russian oil and gas, accusing Hungary and Slovakia of funding the Kremlin's war machine through their purchases. He described Russia's drone crossing into Poland as an attempt to escalate tensions with NATO and warned Moscow will continue to test Western responses. Here is what he had to say.
To us, it seems like Russia is seeking escalation in this war. And we have seen examples of that yesterday. So what we saw yesterday will have a wider impact on Europe. Russian drones violated Poland's territorial integrity in a way that we have not yet seen during Russia's war of aggression here in Ukraine, whether it's in the air, sea, or on land. We continue to develop our own planning, and of course drones is a big part of this. The President of the European Commission has spoken of a wall of drones on the eastern flank, but obviously that is only one part of what we are doing.
Zelensky said Polish military representatives will visit Ukraine to receive training on countering drone attacks, with Ukraine sharing its experience using both foreign and domestic air defence systems. EU Energy Commissioner Dan Jorgensen said that the EU's planned phase-out of Russian energy is ambitious. He reaffirmed the need for more US LNG imports and said pressure on Russia must be increased. We are now joined by our guest, Yulia Sirko. She's a member of parliament and she joins us live from Kyiv in Ukraine. Thank you very much, Yulia, for joining us on the programme. Let's unpack a bit about what Zelensky said in his statements. The issue of sanctions, of course, has been very, very prominent since this war began. Zelensky has said that European sanctions aren't going far enough and that they need to stop buying Russian oil, mainly citing that of Hungary and Slovakia. What are your thoughts, Yulia, on how Europe can do more in this conflict to support Ukraine?
Hello from Kyiv. And first of all, I would like to say it's not only about sanctions. Sanctions is very much important. To stop financing the Russian war against Ukraine, because you know that the Russian budget heavily dependent on oil and gas and other resources, which they're selling to many countries in Europe, in China mostly, and in India as well. So basically, sanctions are very important, but it's also important to understand that yesterday Russia purposely, we think it was done purposely violate the airspace of the European Union and NATO country, Poland. They sent 19 drones, and only 4 drones were landed by Air Force of Poland and NATO. So it's a very low amount of, I would say, of success, because in Ukraine we have at least 50 to 70% drones that we are hitting, Russian drones we are hitting during the attacks. So Poland and NATO country, they are still far behind in the military development. in a modern war. So sanctions are very important against Russia to stop the budget machine, financing machine. But also Europe should understand that they need to be prepared for the modern war, including training, drones attacks, and hybrid war, which actually Russia started yesterday. They are not, unfortunately, as you can see, they actually struck only 4 drones out of 19, which is very low amount. And these drones, Russian drone, they penetrated very far inside the European continent, almost to the Baltic Sea.
Yes, and Yulia, Stubb warned that Moscow is going to keep testing Western responses. Do you think Europe, you spoke about this briefly, but do you think Europe is prepared for a long war of endurance?
No, I don't think so. They are still, in general, European nations still do not believe in that war will come to their continent, not to the continent, but their countries. They still think that Ukraine is the only target for Russia, which is a very wrong approach, because the ambitions of Russian elites and Kremlin elites are far behind, far more than only Ukraine. They openly saying they want to target Poland, Baltics, and even other European nations. So, but somehow Europeans are very naive, and politicians are not saying truth to their nations. So I think European nations is in danger, and I think Russia can start the war against Europe and NATO countries without acquiring or without occupying Ukraine. So they can go through Poland, through Belarus to Poland, or to other Baltic countries, and actually in this way to start the war and test NATO and European Union. And they already started it yesterday. As you know, it will be a very big military training, joint training between Belarus and Russia in a few weeks. And I think, and maybe you remember, maybe not, but the invasion, full-scale invasion to Ukraine started from the military training of Russia on the territory of Belarus and on Russia. So they actually prepared before invasion by military training, and they then decided to invade Ukraine in full-scale invasion in 2022. So this could be the same scenario for European countries, and they should be prepared. But unfortunately, they are very far behind this preparedness, awareness, and protection of the civilians.
Yulia Sirko, please stay with us. We have a related development to discuss. In a high-profile meeting in Minsk, President Donald